Hey everybody, Aaron Stinner here, Stinner HQ, Santa Barbara, California. I have a wonderful guest with us here today. Mr. Bradford Smith is here visiting us, and I thought what a better time for us to sit down and talk about bikes and bike riding. And yeah, let's get into it. So Bradford, you and I have been friends for quite a while. Internet friends first, and then co-workers and friends again. And you've been all over, working all different kind of shops. I think we first met when you were at Geek House. You helped me out with some powder coating questions back when I had no idea what I was doing. Still don't quite know exactly what I'm doing, but
That's right.
You were
2010, 2011 maybe?
Yeah, a long time ago.
Yeah. Quite a while.
Both of us were, I was probably riding more bikes than you were back then. But not anymore. You ride bikes way more than I do now.
Sure. I try to get you out.
I know. We got to get the lunch rides. CJ, sore subject in the shop right now. I got to get the lunch rides back up and rolling. 2026, lunch rides are coming back.
You're the lunch rides. I'll check in.
But yeah, you kind of made the round. You were at Seven, which is a big production house out in New England, and then made your way to West, and we were at Speedwagon for a little while.
Yeah.
And then ultimately you came down and helped us out for 9 months, which was great.
Yeah.
Big transition period for us, where we were going from a shop of James, myself, and Jeremy, and then you were kind of the first fabricator that came in, and I kind of you were the first one to kind of come in, and I kind of handed everything off to you. Mm-hmm. I think I was still welding some of the bikes while you were fabricating them, and then quickly we had Sean.
Yeah.
Sean came in.
Yeah.
But that was a big transitional period for us, and a transitional period for you too.
That's right.
Trying to figure out what you were doing and what was going on.
Doing it.
Yeah. Came down, and fortunate for you, unfortunate for us, you met Marie, who's amazing. Shout out to Marie.
That's right.
And she stole you away from us in a good way. Yeah. And you're back up in Portland now.
That's right.
Doing after hours.
Yeah.
And still riding bikes a lot.
Still trying to ride bikes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How's everything going up there?
It's been great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Shop's been awesome. I got a little co-working space that I get to share with a couple other people, Tom LaMarche and B Vivid.
Another Stinner alum.
That's right.
Tom LaMarche.
That's right.
Looking at you, buddy.
Yeah. Which has been awesome.
Yes.
Nice little spot to call home, and has allowed me a little bit of time to still get out and pedal.
Yeah.
Which is great.
Yeah.
End of the day, that's what I like to do.
Yeah.
So.
I think I've admired that in you, is that you've always, part of the reason I got into frame building originally, I was like, man, I could build frames and I can ride bikes. That's what I get to do. Mm-hmm. And I kind of let the business side probably consume me a little bit more than I should, although I'm pretty happy with where I'm at today. And I still think having kids and all that other stuff has affected the riding as well. But I'll be back on the bike and get the miles in soon enough. But I've always admired your ability to kind of make sure you're getting both in equal portions and not one taking more than the other.
It's a interesting balance.
Yeah.
And I, probably could spend more time one way than the other, and spend more time the way I want to than the other. But it's been a pretty good balance, I think.
How's cross season going?
Cross was great.
Yeah. Is it done?
It is done.
Okay.
We ended November.
Is Nationals already happened?
Nationals happened a couple weeks ago.
Okay. Did you go?
We did not go. We did talk about it, but we did not go. It was in Fayetteville, Arkansas this year.
Okay.
Which actually would have been cool. The day of the race, it was freezing.
Is that the Old World Championship course? Do they use the same one?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think probably similar course design, but that same venue.
Same venue, okay.
Yeah, which seems cool. I mean, it looks like it's just built out for a cross course year round anyways. And I think it's going to be there next year as well.
Cool. You going to go next year?
We've been talking about it.
You got a van now.
We got a van, so the adventures can keep going further.
Yeah, there you go.
Marie had a really, really good season, so she was heavily thinking about it.
Sweet.
And I was definitely down to go and either support her or a race.
Yeah.
They do have a single speed race there, which I would have done, but we opted out this year. But
fun season.
Fun season for sure.
Cool.
We had a lot of good races up in Oregon, which was great.
Sweet.
Started in September and went all the way to end of November, which is cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
I feel like cross is one of those scenes that always is slightly the coolest sport out of all the, or discipline out of all the disciplines. Cause like gravel comes around and then everybody's like, well, watching an 8-hour gravel race is boring.
Right.
And you're like, well, yeah, we have cyclocross, which is like 45 minutes in the dirt, like getting it done. And like, it's spectator friendly.
Completely. We've had, I think, really fortunate. We've had a local series Tuesday nights called Trophy Cup. And it brings out folks that are just commuters, have never even thought about racing cross, and they just want to come and see what's going on.
Yeah.
And then you just like amplify that because people are making hot dogs and people are handing up pickles and all this stuff that it's such a fun Tuesday night. Yeah. And like you're either racing or you're not racing and you're having a blast.
Yeah, that's so cool.
And so that happens kind of like early season, and it's just amazing.
Yeah.
It gets dark at almost 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
And like we get to ride bikes on a Tuesday night, with
that's
all
so
our
cool.
buds, which is amazing.
The power of community.
It really is.
Yeah.
And that's what one of the nice things and the biggest things that drew me back to Portland, was part of the community. Yeah. Being able to build bikes, being able to ride bikes, being able to be, around friends and loved ones. Yeah. Which is amazing.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're getting married.
Last cross race of the season, I asked Marie if she'd marry me.
Man, married man now. Yeah. Look at you.
I'm excited.
That's exciting. Yeah. It's really exciting. Congratulations.
Thank you.
But what we're really here to talk about is bikes. So you had a big bucket list ride this last year in 2025. Is that right?
Yeah, I did. Every 4 years, there's one of the biggest bike events that has been happening for, I don't know,
long
forever.
Time. Yeah.
Is a 1,200 kilometer event called Paris-Brest Paris.
Okay.
And in its simplest form, it's kind of like built as a non-competitive distance event.
Okay.
So you have a time limit.
Yeah.
And so within a time limit, you basically look to efficiencies, right? So you start, the clock starts, and when you finish, the clock stops. Anything that happens in between those times is up to you. It's self-supporting. Okay. Right? So if there's something that you need to do, you take care of it. Hopefully you have time to still move forward and be able to continue.
Keep going. Okay.
So one of the events that I did was a local 1,200K.
Okay.
It was called the Humboldt Coast. So it went from Eugene to Santa Rosa. Okay. And same idea, 90-hour time limit. Okay. To cover
90-hour ride total time.
Total time.
Okay.
Yep. So it's 4.5 days. Okay. Right about.
Yeah.
To cover the 1,200 kilometers.
And that's like
750-ish miles.
Yeah.
And so again, whatever happens within that time, it's on you to take care of everything. Okay. And so for me this year, I wanted to focus on efficiency. Okay. So
is this your first 1,200?
This is not.
Oh, okay. You've done another one.
I did do PvP.
Yeah. Okay, that's right.
2019.
Yeah.
But basically, I think I got into randoneering because of the efficiency side of things.
Yeah, yeah.
So years and years and years ago, I did a bike tour, packed everything up, and rode from Seattle back to Boston when I was living on the East Coast. Had a blast. Yeah. Camped out every night. Yeah. Like, would ride 40 miles or 150 miles. Like, didn't matter. Yeah, yeah. Right? No agenda. Had a paper map. Yep. And it was a blast.
Were you sleeping bag camping, doing that?
Every single night.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And
hobo style.
Completely.
Yeah.
And like shipped half the stuff home because I didn't use anything. Yeah. Like just learned a bunch across the country. Right. And a couple years later, I saw that there was an event called the Trans Am Bike Race. Okay. And so it's a self-supported bike event from Astoria, Oregon to Virginia, Norfolk, Virginia. Okay. So similar idea to randoneering in a way where it's self-supported. However, you didn't have a time limit. It was just an open mass start.
Just go do it.
You go, you be self-supported, self-sufficient. So meaning anything you needed to take care of, it was on you to take care of it. Okay.
Similar to that Great Divide.
100%.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. Just a road version essentially of the Great Divide. And so having rode my bike cross country, I was like, I know I can do it. I just don't know the time. Yeah. And so I kind of set out to be like, all right, I'm gonna see what happens. Like, I know I'm confident in just riding my bike. Let's see what I could do. I think the first trip took me like a month and a half at a leisure pace.
Okay.
For me, just kind of like every day different, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, well, I'm pretty sure I can beat that if I'm trying to go faster.
Yeah.
Right. And so I did just under 24 days.
Okay.
When I finished that trip.
What year was this?
This was 2015.
Okay.
So it was the second year that they ran that event, and it was great. I mean, again, like a mass start, you're on the ocean, and it's just like, this guy Nathan's like, all right, go.
See ya.
Have fun. And it was a blast. I think there was like 40 or so people that started, and people just, kind of went anywhere from there. You had a set route that you were following.
Okay.
And it was basically just like day by day, whatever works.
Yeah.
So I learned a lot, right? But there was, when I finished, a lot that I had questions about.
Yeah.
And a lot of it was efficiencies.
Okay.
Like there was so much time that I looked at. I was like, man, I could have trimmed so much.
So much.
On the bike and off the bike, right? And so when I got back to New England, I was talking to a friend of mine, and he was doing randoneering. And I asked him about how he got into it, and he came from road racing.
Okay.
And the way he was riding randoneering events was the efficiency side of it, right?
Yeah.
And so that intrigued me. So I said, all right, I'm going to try. And so I started riding randoneering events, and that was, I think, 2015.
Okay.
And so there's so many different ways you can do it.
Yeah.
I tell people after that event, like, you could walk across the country. There's just more efficient ways to do it too, right? And so that's kind of the thing that draws me to riding in a long distance event, right?
Yeah.
Like, anybody can go for a 30-mile ride.
Yeah.
It can be bleeding ice fast.
Yeah.
It can be as slow as you want it to be. You can get 5 coffees and ice cream along the way.
Yeah.
Like everything in between, right?
Yeah.
And going into the Humboldt Coast, I basically want to maximize rest. I knew that if I could feel good on the bike, that I'd be able to bank some time sleeping.
Okay.
Because if I could sleep, then I know I'm going to feel good again on the bike.
Yeah.
And so I basically set a plan of start at 5 a.m., ride a day's worth. I'd have a motel.
Okay.
And so I was getting about like 7 to 8 hours of sleep a night, and
That's
basically
great.
resetting every morning at 5 a.m.
Okay.
And it worked great.
Yeah.
I was able to be awake, alert, and like have power on the bike.
Yeah.
Right? Like there's been times where I've ridden for 34 hours and I'm riding at, 8 miles an hour up a hill in the dark, and my eyes are just closing. That's not efficient. That's not good. That's not safe.
Yeah, no.
But if I get 3 hours, if I get 6 hours, like I'm refreshed, I'm revamped, and I ride that much better during the next stint.
Yeah. So you're doing like 300K a day?
This event, it staggered a little bit. It was like right around 300K. One day was over 400K. And then the last day was 200K. So it sort of ebbed and flowed.
Okay.
But yes, like you can kind of break it up depending on what you want.
Okay.
Right. And so for this event, they had the option for having motels.
Okay.
Which was great.
Yeah.
If you wanted to, you could ride it straight through.
Okay.
And not ever sleep or stop.
Sure.
But you don't necessarily need to, because that's an option that's there.
Okay.
Which is quite nice. When people go to do Paris, that's sort of the event that all these are like training for.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like learning what your body needs, how it works, what food works for you, nutrition, sleep, components, bike, all of those things, right? So you can either test equipment, you can test your body, you can test gear, and then when you go to Paris, that would be sort of your goal, to ride it as smooth and as efficient as you can.
Okay.
And that, you're kind of trying to complete it or set yourself a goal to hit.
Do you have to qualify for PvP?
You do qualify, but the qualification is basically doing prior events.
Having completed one?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so it's a low barrier of entry, because I think PvP is like $120.
Oh, wow.
Like entry fee.
Yeah.
For 1,200K.
Yeah.
You get yourself to France, like
Yeah.
you can spend, money in and around that, but like the entry fee is
low.
very low.
Yeah.
Most of the randoneering events that I do, same thing. It's like all volunteer run, and it's $40, $20.
Yeah.
Like pretty low entry, which is quite nice.
Yeah.
You show up with equipment, and hopefully you're self-sufficient to be able to like handle anything you can.
And there's check-in points along the way, right?
Yeah.
Checkpoints?
Exactly.
Okay.
So you'll have a set route.
Yeah.
And then along the way, you basically have controls.
Okay.
You know, and so usually at those controls, you can get the things that you would need throughout the day to keep going.
Okay.
Food, water, supplies.
It's at like a store or something, or a motel or wherever.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
You know?
So when you first mentioned, because you know when you first started working, you and I got to know each other a lot better once you started working here. And I mean, I think I knew about your cross racing. I knew you rode a lot. And you're like, oh, I do these randoneering events, and it's like a website, and like you know, it's got a checkpoint out in the middle, or a pin drop out in the middle of the desert, and you start at this random spot. Now, I always thought, and I come from like a pretty like serious road racing background, where it's like you're training, you're going and showing up for a race, you're racing with 120 other people that think they're professional cyclists, and sprinting for 3 hours, and then the race is done, and thinking that's like the efficient way to like spend your time and money, which you ended up proving me wrong is not the right way to get the best bang for your buck. But when I thought about randoneering, I'm thinking like mustaches and like tweed outfits and like leather handlebar bags and like panniers. Like I don't know why I have this image in my mind.
It's
I'm
a
like,
good photo.
Lugged bikes. Yeah, you know, like.
You know what's interesting is they're still there.
Okay.
And I think like when we went to France, it was kind of funny. Like the American version of like the PvP racer is that. Okay. Where the French racer is like full carbon bike, you know, white shoes, white socks. Okay. Gels, goos.
Oh yeah, bike racers.
Yeah, bike racers that now go a little bit further.
Okay.
So it's kind of neat because there's so many different people that enter this in all different ways. Yeah. And I think that like, again, yes, a lot of folks will ride a certain size tire, a certain gear range, you know, different ways of carrying things. And it's really interesting because when you look at the efficiency side of things, sometimes it's like you'll see somebody and they'll have a huge, you know, luggage rack and a huge handlebar bag. You're like, what do you have in there? And they're like, well, 3 days worth of burritos, you know, 4 pairs of kits. And you're like, well, how long are you going to be out here? And then it's like, well, because I have all this stuff, I'm going slower, so I need more stuff. And then in my ring, you know, so
it's their version of efficiency.
It's pretty interesting to be like, one, like self-sufficient, right? I have absolutely everything I need. In order to be out here forever.
Is there like a diehard portion of people that are like, you don't stay in motels, you don't like, that only sleep on the ground in cowboy camp?
There's definitely a handful. And that's what's kind of neat is like, I showed up to this in Eugene and there's people from all over. People from Chicago, from San Diego, you know, anywhere in between, Florida, like all over the place. So you kind of get what people's habits and like intricacies are. So you'll start to see how people pack their bikes, right? Somebody has full fenders, you know, 650B, huge handlebar bag, you know, racks, lights, flip-flops, like, and, you know, all these sort of things. You're like, okay, and they're completely capable and they finish it in 90 hours and have a blast. And then there's other folks that have TT bars, you know, front and rear handlebar lights, and that's it. Right? Like, so you can kind of go any end of the spectrum. And so I think from like the way that I've never been a road racer. You know, and so I think for me, this is kind of like my road racing. Like,
I also think that's so interesting how you either are doing like ultra distance or you're doing a 1 hour cross race.
That's right. They
on a single speed.
Line up or work well together. Everyone always jokes like, if it was 4 more days, like you'd be great. You know, I'm like, I know, I'd win then. But I don't know why I love that stark contrast.
Well, they both have high levels of efficiency. Like cross racing is like the ultimate display of power in 1 hour.
Exactly. And you're just constantly trying to like navigate and troubleshoot and like figure things out, and it's just like that is like fast twitch, right?
Exactly.
Where randoneering and long distance stuff, it's like it allows me to, honestly, I think about a lot of things business wise while I'm on the bike too, right? It's just like what I'm doing, how I'm doing it, and I think when we built the Gibraltar, it was like a culmination of that. Like, why did I want that bike? For what purpose? And I think for me and a lot of the bikes that I make are purpose built. Right? Like, and I feel fortunate that other folks see that. And understand it, and I think trust in me. As well to like know that that's why I'm doing it. Right? And so I think that like thinking about those type of rides in my mind of like comfort over, 20 hours on the saddle.
Yep.
Right? Like what that looks like. Efficiencies during that time.
Yeah.
Again, it's like you could have something that's good for one little bit, but it might not be good for a whole lot of other stuff.
Yeah.
And then that's kind of causing you time and energy.
Yeah.
So it's like, it is a balance, right?
Yeah.
You could buy a carbon bike that weighs 13 pounds.
Right.
And like, you could be in a headwind or a side wind that's 60 miles an hour.
Right. Doesn't matter.
You're sailing away.
Yeah.
So it's like those ebb and flows, and I think the thought behind each part.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
so obviously, like, I think that was the other thing that, was surprising. Again, to your point, most of it is efficient driven. You're on the road, you're trying to make good time. So when we first were talking about, you were starting to do some randoneering events out here in California when you first got here, some stuff up in San Luis. I think you did a ride from the Mojave out to Vegas.
Yep.
And we were like, let's put it together a Stinner for you.
Yeah.
You're still doing B-Rad. I think that's Afterhours 1.0.
Right.
But, we were doing a bunch of Thai bikes. You have a history with Thai stuff. You were on a 7 before.
Yep.
So we were looking at doing something new for you. And I was like convinced. I was like, oh, the Carrizo is perfect. It's like larger tire, you're on the road, more comfort, all these other things. And you're like, now we're going to build a Gibraltar.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, that's like our bike racing bike. And you're like, well, yeah, I'm trying to get to where I'm trying to go efficiently.
Right.
And then as I started to think about it, I was like, oh yeah, like if I were to do it, I'd ride it on a Gibraltar.
Yeah.
If you're trying to ride 200 miles, like you want to, I've only done one 200-mile ride. Sure. I mean, I've done a lot of stuff in between 200 but like I did 200 and we did the county ride, which was here in Santa Barbara for those that are familiar with it. But it's basically like a loop around the county out through Nokoyama. And, I definitely had to approach that ride very differently.
Right.
And, for me, a lot of it was like keeping my power under a certain threshold for, it's like I watched my power meter more on that ride than I ever have in my life. Right. And I was like, I got to stay under 250 watts. If I'm, we had a lot of climbing that day. So, but you're trying to be as efficient as possible. Like you don't want rolling resistance. Like you want a certain level of comfort, but also at like mile 150, you're just uncomfortable. Like there's no way around it. And so I like really started to make a lot of sense. So we built you a Gibraltar. Yep. You did the 1200, the most recent 1200 on the Stinner.
I did the 600K from San Luis Obispo to San Diego on
it. Right. Yeah.
That was the first, that was like the shakeout ride.
Yeah.
Which was amazing. We did that in under 24 hours.
Yeah.
Which was perfect.
That was a big one.
And then, have ridden it, like kind of within that year, and then I took it on the 1200K. And I mean, I had other bikes to think about, and other bikes that I have ridden for that distance, right?
Yeah.
And again, like the goal of that event, for me, the way I wanted to ride it, it was on that bike.
Yeah.
And I think that was again, just like you sort of said it, like the climbing, the time on the saddle, everything that we did with that bike, like it was built for it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like that's, and for that bike, like it I think we probably slightly tweaked the geometry, but we didn't do anything,
drastic,
groundbreaking.
Yeah. When it clears 32C tires, so and you're probably running 32s on there. Yeah. You're still running like a 2x obviously system. And you have SRAM on there or Shimano?
I have SRAM.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you're running like the lower end gearing? Do you have like the?
Yeah, it's like the 48. Like 33 chainring,
okay,
which I love.
And then pretty wide in the back.
Yeah, I think I have like a.
Or the full.
It's like a 1036.
Okay.
So it's like their mid.
3330. Yeah.
Yeah. And it does everything I need it to.
Sure.
Which is great.
Yeah.
And sometimes like you get in a group and it's like you kind of ride, and cadence is a big one, right? Like there's moving up to Oregon. Like all my bikes have had 1x chainrings.
Okay.
And it's just like you ride so different, but like when you get in a group of people, like the cadence is and
that sweet spot.
Trying to take a 1x to like PvP, like that would be so drastically different. Right?
Yeah.
But I've taken any other bike that has a 1x and gone on some long distance rides and events, and it's interesting, like almost the energy. Wasted or used.
Yeah. I think that's a lot of like people that ride a lot. I mean, it's always been it doesn't have this gear, it doesn't have that gear. And like some people don't understand that. It's like, well, it's a 1x, but it has this range that's like larger. You're like, yeah, but I'm missing all these incremental pieces where it's like when I'm riding 17.5 miles an hour at a 2% gradient, like you're missing that gear that's in the middle. And like, I don't think everybody experiences that, right? Like the general cyclist, I don't think that's out there riding like a few hours a day and like trying to get miles in, may experience that less. But when you're like 175 miles in, you want that sweet spot. You want that like 33:17, right? Like, and if I don't have that,
and you feel it. And I think that I feel fortunate when customers start having questions, right? You can respond to why. You know, and they don't necessarily need to have felt it, but like that's why you do it. You know? And so, exactly, it's like that to me was going to get me what I wanted. You know.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Which is perfect.
I think your experience with the Gibraltar has allowed us to, you know, convey that to a lot of our customers too. It's just like, hey, this is like, I can give you examples. I can refer you to people like, you know, people that are doing 1,200 kilometer events, like they're doing these on Gibraltars, and here are the reasons why. It makes the purchasing decision a lot easier for them because they have that. Because I do think a lot of people that are getting into this, there's a jumping off point where you're like, I don't know if I can do this physically, and like what kind of gear do I need to be set up on? And so there's a lot of guessing.
There is.
And like, you know, the last thing you want to do is get 600 kilometers in on a 1,200 and pull the plug. So you kind of want to be lined up for best success, and there's only so much information to go off of. So it's been really helpful having your experience and being able to apply that to the Gibraltar for our customers. And I think we've sold a handful of randoneering bikes because of, you know, being able to kind of back up on that.
And I mean, you're not wrong. Like, probably up until the 9th hour, I would have done a Carrizo. You know what I mean? And that would have been like more versatile. Right? Like I probably would have had 2 wheel sets. Like I'm sure I would have done a 650B by 42 or 48 and then thrown, you know, something smaller on it. But I've had that bike. And so to build sort of a little bit more purpose-built of the way I wanted to ride that bike, that was perfect.
Speed and efficiency.
And for us, like, I mean, I don't know if you see it, but like road racing is not as popular. And for people to have more versatile bikes, like that's going to go a lot further. And I think too, like even with more gravel events happening, like there's randoneering is now like it's a very old, antiquated group, I guess. But they're sort of trying to evolve and grow, and in a funny way, like trying to add in more gravel options. So they'll have some routes, but in a funny way, like we've almost lost more gravel than we used to have. Because roads are now getting paved. And so it's like at the end of the day, like to ride a bike on a road that's all beaten up, you want probably a fatter tire anyway. And so I think like as a proper road bike, I don't need a carbon 13-pound road racing bike. You know, but people do it, and like that's what they're comfortable on, and they probably have an old, you know, road racing background that are tried and true, and still run 25s or 28s, and like that's a fat tire for them,
and it works. You know, it all depends. I mean, I think there's also when you're riding 200 miles, the mental games that you're playing with yourself are pretty extreme, and like you want to be on something that more private jets. You want to be on something that you feel confident on, right? Like you want to be on something that you like feel, you're not like in at mile 170, you're like, I shouldn't have ridden 32s, I should have been on 28s. It's just like run what you brung, run what you want. And like that way you're not second guessing yourself when it gets
100%.
down, right?
Like again, the efficiency side, like you can waste so much energy with doubt. Right? And so if you're doubting your equipment.
Sorry.
You know, if you're doubting your equipment, your nutrition, like all these things that just take up energy, that's not great. You know, so knowing something that you feel confident in and purposeful about, that's going to just tick that off the box. You know, and now you can move forward to the next thing down the list.
Exactly.
You know?
So you're building your own bikes now. I think also, which is a great segue into like for Afterhours, you have 3 models, right? And they're mostly all purpose built, like very specifically purpose built. So you got your cyclocross bike. Is that a single speed only, or are you doing
It's not single speed only, so I either will do a press fit bottom bracket or threaded BB. Totally fine. If I had my choice, it'll be single speed. However, I ride that bike a lot, and I do put gears on it. And so I like that SRAM offers a wireless system. Because once you route the brakes, that's totally fine. Set up.
Throw your
throw a
derailleur
derailleur on it, or you take the derailleur off and you're good to go.
Yeah.
That is geared or single speed.
Yeah.
Totally dependent on the customer. And then I have a dirt bike.
Yeah.
Which is the off-road.
Okay.
You know.
Yeah.
700 by 50.
Okay.
Or 20.
Your gravel rig.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
you have the Roadrunner.
I have a bike called the Roadrunner.
Yeah.
And so it's sort of, in my eyes, it's like a fat tire road bike.
Yeah.
And that's what makes me think of like the old Plymouth Roadrunners, just fat tire, muscle car.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's.
And what does that go up to? Tire what? Because that's kind of like
36, 37.
Okay.
Like with the fork that I use, you can run fenders. You can run lights.
Okay.
Which is really nice. So that's like probably a step up from like what the Gibraltar allows. Okay. Right. To have a fender mount and have a light mount. Yep. Internal light wire and a fork. And then I just match that clearance in the rear. So it's usually around like a 35C. Okay. And to me, that's like a fat tire road bike. Totally. And that's where like kind of the Roadrunner comes into like a fat tire muscle car. Mm-hmm. Totally. Built to ride. Right? Yeah. And that's sort of like, again, for us, fortunately in Portland, a lot of the time we ride in the dark. Yeah. A lot of the time we ride in the wet. Yeah. So like that bike ticks a lot of boxes as well. As being a road bike that's capable. Yeah. You know, if you ride 32s on it, it's going to be great. Yeah. If you ride 35s on it, it's going to be awesome. You can put fenders, you can have lights. Yeah. Again, you're sort of ready to go at any time of day. Yeah, I was going to say it's like the Pacific Northwest version of the Gibraltar. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It is. Which is awesome. Yeah. Very cool. Yeah. So Brad, so you've done all that now. So you got, I think you hinted at in another video that we just did, PBP 2027. Yep, next iteration of PBP is 27. Okay. I did not go to the last iteration, which was 23. Okay. Had a little FOMO. Okay. So I've been doing some events in case I want to go. Okay. I'll be qualified. Okay. But at the same time, like, I'm riding my bike a bunch. Yeah. Which is also great. Yeah. You know, so even if I don't go, I'm still riding my bike. Yeah, totally. You know, but it's a circus. Yeah. I mean, like you said, like, it feels like a road race where you have 250 people in waves. Yeah. Up to almost 8,000 people throughout this starting event. That's crazy. It's bonkers. Yeah. And so, like, it's a sight in itself. Yeah. You know, and you go through these little villages that are just fully taken over, and everyone's out to support and cheer, which is really cool. You meet people from all over. So cool. You know, and it's like, you might not speak any of the languages, but you're riding bikes together and you're smiling and so cool. Having a blast. You know? There needs to be more, like, I feel like randoneering needs to be more popularized. Like, I feel like not enough, like, gravel is obviously a big thing, and you got these like long distances and short distances, like, and I know, you know, also just for, so everybody else knows, you can also go do a randoneering event that's like a 1 day, 200 or 300K, right? Yeah. Is that like the shortest distance? Yeah, they basically have a series of events. It starts at 200K, 300K, 400, 600, and then the larger ones are 1,000 and 1,200. Yeah. There's some one-offs that might be a 1,300 or 2,100. Yeah. You know, but they happen all around, and it's, again, it's like a non-competitive distance event. Yeah. You know, it's about getting out, spending time outside, getting to explore places. Yeah, so good. Which is the best thing we could do. Awesome. Yeah. So any other big rides in 2026 you have to do to qualify for it? Or? Not particularly. Okay. Doesn't mean I won't. Yeah. But this is like the time of year I start to think about what I might want to do this year. Okay. Probably for sure do a regular series of a 200 up to a 600. Okay. Hopefully travel, because you can ride with different groups or people. You know, maybe come back down to California. There's been some good ones. We'll see though. Nothing quite on the calendar yet, but we got the van now. I know. So now you can get wherever you need to go. That's right. That's exciting. That amplifies it. Yeah. That's exciting. It is. Awesome, man. Yeah. Well, thank you for taking the time. My pleasure. Come and visit us and hang out and chat. Thank you guys for tuning in. Again, really fun to hang out with Bradford here and talk all things bikes. Thanks for checking in. Like and subscribe. We'll see you guys next time. Thanks.